Well, hello everybody, welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to be making an Italian style bread. So this is going to be a sort of a long thin loaf, so to speak, similar in shape but wider than a French baguette, and hopefully it's going to be nice and airy inside and chewy as well. I've not done this before, but we'll see how it goes. And for this I'm going to use a pizza stone in the oven and put the uncooked dough onto the pizza stone. But you could use a baking tray heated up as well if you don't have a pizza stone. So the ingredients for this are 470 grams of strong white bread flour, and that works out at 3 cups of bread flour. 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons, 30 milliliters of olive oil. I have 6 grams, which is 1.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast, and a teaspoon of sugar to help activate the yeast, and 330 milliliters, which is 1 1/3 cups of lukewarm water. So what I'm going to do is to put the sugar into the water and then sprinkle the yeast on the top. And I'm going to stir that around and leave it to activate for 10 minutes. And that should start to froth up, and then I'll be back and we'll go on to making the dough. Well, the yeast has been standing for 10 minutes. Now this is a different brand of active dry yeast that I'm using. It's a French one, and it doesn't actually say that it froths, and this hasn't frothed very much, but I'll carry on and see how we go. So I'm going to put the salt into the flour, and I'm just going to mix that in a little bit, and then I'm going to put all of that, the flour and the salt, into the bowl of my stand mixer. And I'm just going to mix that on slow a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the oil into the yeast mixture, and with the stand mixer mixing on low, I'm going to gradually add this yeast and oil into it. And with all of the liquid added in, I'm going to knead this on medium low for 8 minutes until it's all come together and it's come cleanly away from the side of the bowl. Okay, so that's coming away from the bowl. Now I did add an extra tablespoon of flour in because it didn't seem to be coming away very easily. So I just added an extra tablespoon of flour, and that seems to have done the trick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip that out onto a lightly floured surface. And then I'm going to knead it for about 30 seconds and form it into a ball. Just going to coat it in that flour first. Take a bit more flour, I think. And then I'm going to put that into a greased bowl. Put it in top side down and then turn it over. And I'm going to cover that with my lid. You can use a damp towel or some plastic wrap. And I'm going to let that prove until it's doubled in size. That could take anywhere between 1 hour and 2 hours. And once it's doubled in size, I'll come back and we'll go on to the next step. It's been about an hour and a half, and my dough has risen and doubled in size. So I'm actually going to just push the air out like that, and then I'm going to tip it out onto a lightly floured surface like that. And then I have that at about 10 inches square, I think. So what I'm going to do is pull the corners into the centre at the top like that. Then take that bit and pull that down into the centre, pull it over like that, and then over again. I'm going to move that on and put more flour down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just roll that and pinch the seams together to make sure that I have it all seamed. And I have that then at about 13 inches, and that's because the size of my stone is only 15 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick that up and put it onto this parchment paper, which is the same size as my pizza stone, and then I'm going to reform it and then I'm going to tuck it under like that. I'm trying to get a little bit of tautness into it, like that. And then I'm going to cover that with some lightly greased plastic wrap, and I'm going to leave it until it's doubled in size. Until it's increased in size by about half. Now while that's happening, I have my oven preheating with the pizza stone inside to 235 Celsius, that's 215 Celsius with a fan, 450 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to heat that up for at least an hour while this is proving again. Now if you don't have a pizza stone and you were going to use a baking tray, then you can put the baking tray in, but you don't need to heat the oven for quite that long. But this will be hot enough then, the pizza stone will be hot enough when I come back to finish this off. So my shaped dough has now increased by about half, and my oven is preheated. So what I'm going to do is take a sharp knife and I'm going to make a slit down the centre, about ½ inch deep, and then I'm going to spray with water. You could brush it with water, and then I'm going to put that into the oven using this paddle and put it onto the baking stone with the parchment paper in place still, and I'm going to bake it for 25 minutes to 30 minutes until the temperature in the middle reaches about 96 to 98 Celsius, which is about 205 to 210 Fahrenheit. And when I tap the underside of the loaf, it sounds hollow. Then it will come out of the oven and I'll allow it to cool down for at least 3 hours before I cut it. So then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Well, I baked the loaf for 27 minutes and I tested the internal temperature and it was as I described. So I took it out and I've let it cool down, and it's been cooling down now. It's completely cold after 3 hours, and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to see if I can just cut into it. and that's what it looks like. So I just actually cut a slice of that. So it looks very, very good, I think. So it will be nice and chewy, and it's nicely aerated, as you can see. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below the video and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, which will take you to the recipe, and I'll put a link to it below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.